everyone, it's Stephanie again, and you are tuned into the review of Married at First Sight, Season 9, Episode 14. Okay, so like many of you all, if you watched the episode last night, you know that it was decision day, and the couples chose whether to stay together or not. So I'm just going to jump right in because I have a lot of thoughts on each couple and kind of the way that this experiment kind of closed out this season, because they had them get together after the decisions were made, which they've never done before, and that was interesting to me. So let's just kick it off with Iris and Keith. Before I go in with Iris and Keith, I'm going to say that watching them last night made me really want to change an element of the experiment that I think would be better for all the cast and all the people who participate. I think what they should do is have the 8 weeks where they do everything that they've been doing so far, and then they have 2 more weeks off camera where they just get to have their relationship without any other outside interference, and then they come back for decision day. The reason why I feel that way is because I think Keith made a mistake, okay? And I know a lot of people are going to go back and forth with it, and people are, have their opinions, but I think Keith made a huge mistake, and I feel like he probably has some apprehension in making that mistake or making his decision. Now, I don't doubt that his decision was right for him or what he thought was right for him, but I think he's making this decision without like all of the information. And you guys have sent the article that she did, that Iris did, where she was talking about the interactions that they have off camera, and basically, if you haven't read it, it was Iris's end of what's really going on and their intimacy, and him saying that she's not emotionally and sexually mature, and her saying that a lot of the reasons why they didn't interact in a certain way on camera is because they chose to keep certain things at bay because they both worked with children. So apparently this was agreed upon on her side for the both of them behind the scenes, and there was a lot of stuff that just was not comfortable being done on camera. I didn't really need the article for that because I could tell that there's a side of her that we're just not going to see because she's very aware of the cameras being there. And it's a catch-22 because a lot of people say, okay, well, if she shouldn't have been on the show. And there's a part of me that kind of feels that way, but these people have real jobs and real lives. And so, yes, they're doing this for love and they want to find their mate. And some of them have been able to find their mate and be fruitful and multiply, and people's lives are changing. But they're also real life jobs and things of that nature that they have to be aware of. And depending on where you fall and where you work, being on TV can have an effect with that. So I completely understand that, but I think that Keith was also very guarded as well. And in the article it read, and we all know, some of the men have discussed this, women have discussed this. When my husband was on, he discussed kind of the weight of being the person who is her first and the responsibility. And we all see that Keith really didn't want that responsibility. And the article kind of touched on that as well. And we kind of see that he felt that way. It's a huge responsibility. He didn't want to be the guy who was that first experience and it not work out. So he was guarded in some ways. I think we put a lot of pressure on Iris about what she should do, and she's a little too stuck up, not in a way of like being arrogant, but she's a little too tight and she needs to relax, and she's controlling and she has all these quirks, and Keith didn't have much to work on, but I think Keith had some things to work on, including allowing his guard to be down. So I think them not being together, that probably was the worst one that I've seen, because I didn't expect it. I expected that they would at least try for a little bit after the experiment and then go on. And I mean, there are different ways to look at it here. Maybe he's saving her from future heartbreak, but I feel like it's almost like making a decision ill-informed of the whole aspect of the decision. And I think he made the decision based on what he knew, and there's so much more. Even when they were together, and it was hard for her to take, as we saw, and it was really difficult. And I feel like it was really difficult for him to say because he saw so many good qualities in her. But when they were packing up their stuff and he was on the bed with her and they were kind of talking, I felt like his body language reflected that he felt some type of way about it and wasn't 100% sure. And later on, when they are at the barbecue kind of talking with each other, we hear him say, who knows what the future holds? And she perks up. And I feel like Keith is not 100% sure with the decision that he made, but he made it. and he knows why he made it, but he's not 100% sure. If you guys recall, a few weeks ago I made the comparison of like 80-20, and kind of like our mates or significant others have 80% of what we're looking for, and they're always missing the 20. And we're looking at the 20, and when you're missing it, it weighs so much. It weighs just like the 80%, but what you don't know is when you give up the 80, or you swap out 80 to receive that 20 in another form of fashion or in another person, sometimes you're giving up the 80. The thing with this is sex is really important. So that's a really important thing that he has to weigh in a marriage. But once again, we don't even know what that could possibly be. She doesn't know what it could be. He doesn't know. And I think not knowing scared him enough to make that type of decision. So it's really unfortunate because I really wanted it to work out for them. I feel like they're so compatible in so many ways. And honestly, I feel like, and me and my husband were talking about this last night, we feel like she would be a great wife for him in like a year or in like 2 years or 3 years, or when he's in a seasoned place. And right now he's not in the place where he can even recognize what she might bring to the table. And she's not in a place where she can risk, taking a chance and being more than what she was and being what he needed. But I do feel like it's unfortunate because we've seen so many couples matched and it's obvious why it's not going to work out. And I think their issue was just a lack of the ability to be 100%. They couldn't really be 100% on camera, either one of them, if you ask me. And, the relationship suffered for that. I hope that it works out in the future, but I wouldn't hold my breath for it. I almost felt bad that Iris was so excited because I hope that she's not waiting for something. I hope that she's living and experiencing things, and, he's moving on in a healthy way or whatever they're doing. And if they do, for some reason, end up together, then it's because they're both willing to put in 100% and not kind of just wait and see and kind of waste more time. But I will say that one was super hard to watch because I was really hoping for a different outcome, and I think they're genuinely good people. And then you never know what happens behind the scenes. I mean, we get to hear a bunch of stuff, but I think they were very well matched. So that is Iris and Keith. I wish them well. Next we have Jamie and Elizabeth. They really did a great job about drawing out this whole thing and trying to figure out who was going to stay together or not. Back to Iris and Keith, I thought they were going to stay together, so that prediction went the opposite of what I thought. Jamie and Elizabeth, I knew that they were going to stay together because I think that they are attracted to each other's dysfunction and they thrive in it. They know how to do that. I'm hoping that now that the experiment is over, without the cameras, they can just really learn each other and learn to communicate effectively. I hope that they continue to seek appropriate outside counsel and really get to know each other and learn boundaries and learn effective communication and learn to really grow in their marriage together and not fight each other because they're very different. But for some reason, their differences work well in the sense that they can respect each other's differences. It's just when somebody is hurt, then the other person wants to hurt. And there's like no level to their low blows. Like it can get lower and lower and lower. So it's no surprise that they want to stay together. I do feel like they have genuine feelings with each other because if we were basing it on what we saw, then we would say they don't belong together. I don't necessarily know that they're going to last without intensive therapy on each person's side because we come into a marriage and they have this saying of you complete me, but you don't want that. You don't want to be an incomplete person getting into a marriage. Now I think being a person is evolutionary, and so we're always changing, we're always growing, but you do not want to get into a marriage hoping that this person fills a hole in you that you couldn't fill yourself, because that's really damaging. It's dangerous, and it puts a lot of pressure on this other person who's walking into something that they didn't necessarily sign up for that. They signed up to be with you and to live a life and grow and go through things. They did not sign up to fix your trauma from 12 years old or your trauma from that last relationship or anything like that. Your parents' trauma, their divorce issues, their abandonment. They didn't sign up for that. So I'm hoping that they kind of recognize the need to have both individual and couples therapy so that they can work on stuff. Otherwise, they'll fizzle out very quickly. So that is Jamie and Elizabeth. You know, once again, I wish them well, but no surprise that they stay together, like I said, because I think they're attracted to the madness. But for longevity, I definitely think that they need to really do the work in order to really get into the groove of marriage. Because when you first get married, you get into it thinking that it's going to be this thing, whatever it is that you think that it's going to be. And then you quickly find out that it's not often what you exactly thought it was going to be. And then you have to really get into the groove of who this person is and the life that you're building together and how you guys are together as a cohesive unit. So I hope that they figure that out, and maybe that will mellow them out and they won't be distracted by all these other things. So that is Jamie and Elizabeth. Next we have Deanna and Greg. I mean, check. Like, we knew Deanna and Greg would stay together. I'm happy that they stay together. They are so genuine. Like I said, they're the poster child for this whole experiment. I think it was flawless how they went. Not that they were perfect, but it was flawless how they progressed together, how they took chances in large and small ways, how they're willing to grow together, how they are supporting each other, how they're kind of challenging each other to grow. And we have to think about it. You know, sometimes we're watching, and over the time span of like a few months, we're like, okay, well, she should be, or he should be, or XYZ. But realistically, it's a short window of time. It's 8 months. So when we put things into perspective, not 8 months, it's 8 weeks. So when we put things into perspective, 8 weeks is not that long of a time, okay, for us to really expect people to just change. The decision to change can happen immediately, but the actual longevity of change happens over time. So we're seeing them start to bring their walls down and starting to recognize each other's hints and each other's nonverbal cues and what that means, and it's really beautiful to watch them kind of grow together and be excited for the next chapter and respect each other and you know, both choose each other. It was no surprise that they did, and I'm really excited for them. I really see them going long term, and I think you have to think about it. They're still working full time. They have this overwhelming experience. They're shooting more than full time. And so there's a lot of factors that influence who they are. And my husband and I were talking about that last night. And I said, you know, with this, if cameras were in our home right now, I would totally be a little different. I would be a little different. Maybe over time if I got used to it after a while. But right now it would change the way that I react in life. And then it would definitely change the way that I react with you and respond to you. So I'm glad to see that they have such a strong and healthy framework of a relationship to go the distance without the cameras. And I think they're both very analytical, and I think they're very thoughtful about how they move through life and how they work with each other. So I don't think that will stop. And they're also very faith-based, which I definitely think adds value to themselves and adds value to the way that they approach the relationship. So I definitely don't see that going out of the window because the cameras are not there. I actually think that in the event that they need something and they need some extra help, they will be thoughtful enough to say, okay, let's get some extra help and let's do what we need to do. So that is Deanna and Greg. I wish them well. I'm excited to see what's coming up. And yeah, so last but not least is Amber and Matt. And I'm deflated, you guys, because I'm exhausted with the shenanigans that is Amber and Matt. Matt is a joke, okay? Matt, I don't know why Matt, and I'm really keeping it together because I want to keep it PG. I don't know why Matt did this experiment. And Karma is not a nice person because he will run into it. I have no idea why he did this experiment. I almost feel like Matt flipped a coin and he got it. And then he's like, oh, okay, you know, and he joined the experiment. There is nothing that I saw on the last episode that was reflective of Matt being someone who was mildly concerned with actually creating a connection that was long-term. I feel like based on the minimal stuff that we know about Matt, I feel like he may have wanted to just stick it to his parents and I'll show you. And so he just decides to do this experiment and he gets chosen and he presents well. Like I said, you guys, we can only put so much responsibility on the experts. Yeah, they should, you know, be seeing certain things, certain irate, obvious things, but there's also people who can present really well. And sometimes you can't see it until it's too late. And I really hate that he did that to Amber. He is very, very, very selfish, and I'm just gonna say, he just deserves what he gets, Deciding to be with someone, first of all, his excuses about, he thought that they had a friendship, and, he knew, it's just crap. I can't even really repeat it. You committed to someone, regardless of your emotional state of mind. And true commitment is continuing to be committed to the thing that you committed to long after the feelings associated with that commitment goes away. Okay? So when you're excited and you commit to something, you still have to be committed to that thing after you feel sad about it, or after those exciting new feelings go away. You still have to be committed to that thing. That's true commitment. And he wasn't committed beyond taking advantage of what she was willing to offer and beyond feeling good. The moment it didn't feel good, he started looking at outside resources, and he started, philandering around with other women. And it was pretty disgusting, because you're not that much of an idiot. You are an idiot, Matt, but you're not that much of an idiot where you know that because you're not into your wife that you married, in an experiment, that it's not acceptable. His apologies were empty. And we see him later on at the barbecue, cold. He's cold when he's moving out with her. He throws the pictures in the trash. Not that he had to put them in his heart, but at least act like you care. He seems like he's very upset with her for some reason, because she basically called him out. And I'm really proud of her for calling him out in front of the experts. And he's just checked out, chapter closed. That's what he says. Okay, this chapter is closed. I hope you find someone who does that. Very callous, very just Mr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, just very cold. And so we see someone who has even an intentionality that was genuine would not be able to turn it off just like that, even if they were with someone who they didn't care about. Because we've seen people be matched on the show where they're with someone who they didn't care about, but they really cared about not the show, but they cared about wanting to find someone. And even in not, connecting with the person that they were matched with, you can see the desire to wish that it would have turned out differently. Matt is like, bye y'all, and I just don't get that. And I hate that he was able to partake in an experiment and take the opportunity away from someone who could have poured into her and built a life with her. And he also took the opportunity from her to be with someone who would have made a genuine effort, even if it didn't translate into a relationship that lasted. At least she would have felt someone making a genuine effort and just being there. So that's Matt. He's trash. So I don't have much to say about him. Amber, I really, really feel sorry for. I hate that she was taken advantage of in that way. I hate that she put her heart and soul into this relationship and it did not pan out the way she wanted. I really want her to get better, and I want her to do better, and I want her to know that she deserves better. And it's not totally about her, okay? What he's doing is not totally about her, but with all that being said, warm bear hug for Amber. She has got to get it together in terms of what she's allowing to accept. Amber, you can only get what you allow, okay? And she even said it. Listen, in any other traditional relationship, I would have never allowed some of the things I allowed with him. However, if we circle back to when she was initially chosen, and we remember her twin sister saying that she was apprehensive about this whole experiment because Amber pours into these relationships in an unhealthy way. She even gave an example of how Amber used to just work and give her check away to this boyfriend that she has and how she's taken advantage of. We see that this is not probably just happening in this relationship. We have patterns. And so sometimes if you find that you're dating the same person, it's not the same person that keeps coming to you because that's your person. It's you and your picker being wrong, being unhealthy and choosing the wrong person. So you have to recognize, and I do this with clients when they're like, this happened and these people did it and so did it. I'm like, okay, I get that, and that stuff is valid. But if we just took a step back and looked from an accountability standpoint, how do you feel like you've played a part in what's been happening? Mind's blown, because nobody really wants to talk about that and nobody thinks it's them, it's the other person. So with Amber, I want her to take ownership of how she's showing up in these relationships and allowing these things to happen. It really frustrated me when he was treating her like crap and they were at the barbecue and she's saying, I just don't want you to hate me. Enough. He has treated you horribly. At this point, if your focus is on how he feels about you, that lets you know where you are right now in your process, which is a very unhealthy place. It should not be focused on anything. She should be so upset that she is shut down from him at least. Or she is wondering, okay, what can I do differently? She's not. She's still focused on him. She's still, saying things of why they were matched together. To me, had Matt done all of these things, there's no way that I could sit there and say, well, I understand why we were matched on paper. Matt doesn't really show up well on paper too. Like, if we really look at what he brings to the table, that table's empty. I don't see what he brings to the table. It's not like he doesn't bring much to the table paper-wise, but he has such a great energy and he's such a calm and loving person. He brings nothing to the table and he brings nothing with his personality. He's disrespectful and rude, yet you're sitting here wondering how to change this person who does not care about you. You're the problem. You are the common denominator in your relationships. And it might sound mean, but like, I want so much better for her, and you have to realize that you're a part of it. And the moment that you realize that you're a part of it, whatever is happening in your life, if you keep having issues with relationships, if you keep getting in arguments with people, if you are not doing well at work, if you're not sustaining XYZ, see how you play a part in it. What am I not doing? Even if it's something simple, like I want to save X amount of dollars by X amount of time. If you don't get to that, it's not all these reasons why. It's not all the things you spent your money on. It's how did I show up each time that I could have made a different decision? Yes, there are certain things that are valid external or environmental factors. It's not everything. And so with Amber, her just kind of not taking ownership or not rising above and loving herself enough, she desperately needs that. So I don't think she needs to be in any relationship right now. I don't think she needs to even be with her best friend, who I know everybody's saying, oh, they would be cute together. What's going on there? I think she needs to love herself. She doesn't love herself right now. She doesn't love herself enough. And it's okay to be hurt. She should be hurt. I would be hurt. But to say, I don't deserve this. And like the barbecue scene is what really threw me off, because I just was like, why is she still pining over him when he's sitting here like so rude, so nonchalant, so checked out, so disrespectful? Like, to say, I just don't want you to hate me. That's the concern right now. Why? Like, I just want to shake her. So I want her to have some personal work, deal with your issues before you jump into the next thing. Because Amber, when I was talking earlier about being with someone who wants to be completed and wants to avoid fill, Amber is that person. She wants to be completed. And we've mentioned that she can be very clingy, doesn't excuse anything that Matt has ever done, but she has this energy about her that can be very clingy. Even with somebody you love, that's annoying. Like, that gets old quick. Like, we're still individuals in this unit, even though we are a unit, but you might like action movies and I like romantic comedies. We're still like people who like things that may be different, and you still need the room to express yourself individually appropriately on whatever you agree on in your relationship. And so she seems so overwhelmed by whatever issue she has, definitely abandonment, that she needs to literally cling onto her partner. And so some of that stuff needs to be worked out, because even if you're with someone who wants to be with you and who loves you and who's willing to pour into you and commit to you, you can wear them out with your neediness, because that's just not attractive. So that is my 2 cents on Amber. I mean, I hope that I didn't beat her up too bad, but it's like a tough love thing. Like, I was just so upset that she was treated that way that I want her to want more. And I want her to kind of, take accountability, because in taking accountability, it will empower her to change the way that the narrative goes in her love life, which will translate to all her relationships. So that is Amber and Matt. Last but not least, I did all the couples. But I just wanted to say that I did not really like how they forced them to all get together in a barbecue. I feel like that was like a contractual obligation and it was just for drama. I think if they would have done a barbecue with the couples that would have stayed together, and maybe the experts, that would have been fun. But to have people who just said no and everybody was not on the same page, it was just like gasoline, match, go. Like we're waiting to see the drama, and I think that's not healthy for them because they're already under emotional distress in some ways. So that bothered me because I literally, as they're on the last couple and we still have like 40 minutes to go, I'm like, what else could they have for this episode? And the barbecue just felt like, you know, let's just lock them in a room and see what happens, you know? And it's just like, what is the point of this? I don't think that that was beneficial for them at all. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Thank you guys so much for watching with me. I have some good stuff coming up. I'm coming up with like a new show idea, so I will keep you guys posted on that. But yes, thank you guys for watching with me. If there is a reunion next week, I will do a review on that. If not, then I'll see you guys soon. As always, don't forget to subscribe, comment, and like, and I will see you guys soon. Everyone have a wonderful week.